19 years, over 230 episodes, one ranch that changed television forever. And now, the news that every Heartland fan has been dreading is finally here. Season 20 is coming, and if the rumors are true, it is not just another season. It is the last ride. The final chapter of the Fleming family story is about to begin, and before it does, you need to know everything that is happening, everything that is at stake, and exactly what this means for the show you have loved for nearly 2 decades. Because this is not just another TV announcement. This is the end of an era. And you deserve to know the full story before the curtain comes down on Heartland forever. Think back to 2007. A quiet Canadian drama about a girl, her horses, and her family started airing on CBC, and nobody could have predicted what it would become. Heartland was not loud. It was not filled with explosions or shocking plot twists every 5 minutes. It was something far more powerful than that. It was real. It felt like a place you could actually go to. A ranch in Alberta where the air was clean, the land was wide, open, and the people, no matter how broken they were, always found their way back to each other. That is what made Heartland different from everything else on television. Amy Fleming was not your typical TV character. She was stubborn, passionate, and deeply connected to horses in a way that felt almost spiritual. Watching her heal a horse that everyone else had given up on was not just entertaining. It was genuinely moving. You rooted for her not because the show told you to, but because she earned it, episode after episode, season after season. And the people around her made that journey even richer. Grandpa Jack, with his slow wisdom and weathered hands, felt like the grandfather everyone wished they had. Lou, sharp and driven and always trying to hold everything together, felt like someone you actually knew. Tim, complicated and flawed and trying so hard to be the father he never was, felt deeply human in a way that most TV dads never do. The ranch itself, Heartland, became its own character over time. The wide shots of those Alberta fields and mountains did something to people. Fans from countries that had never seen a horse in real life felt connected to that land. People in cities with no connection to farming or ranching built an emotional relationship with that place because the show made it feel like home. That is an extraordinary thing for a television series to pull off, and Heartland did it for 19 straight years without losing that feeling. The show survived things that kill most dramas. It survived cast changes. It survived shifting storylines. It survived the loss of beloved characters, and it survived long enough to become the longest-running one-hour drama in Canadian television history. That is not a small achievement. That is a landmark. That is the kind of record that puts a show in a completely different category from its peers. While other shows came and went, while streaming platforms rose and fell, while audience habits changed completely, Heartland kept going. It kept finding new fans while holding onto the old ones, and that speaks to something deep at the heart of this show that goes beyond good writing or good acting. It speaks to the fact that people genuinely needed what Heartland was giving them, and what it was giving them was simple but rare. It was giving them a story about family, not a perfect family, not a family that had everything figured out, but a family that kept choosing each other even when it was hard. A family that fought and broke apart and came back together and built something that lasted. In a world where so much on television is dark and cynical and designed to shock you, Heartland was the opposite. It was warm without being soft. It was hopeful without being naive. It treated its audience like adults who could handle emotion without needing someone to be a villain every episode. That legacy is what makes the season 20 news hit so hard. Because when a show has given that much to that many people for that long, the idea of it ending does not feel like the end of a TV series. It feels like the end of something that actually mattered in your life. And for millions of fans around the world, that is exactly what it is. Nobody wanted to believe it at first. When the whispers started spreading across fan pages and comment sections, most people dismissed it as internet rumor. They had heard things like this before about Heartland, and it never turned out to be true. But this time something felt different. This time the silence from the network was louder than usual. This time the cast was choosing their words very carefully in interviews. And this time the fans who had been watching this show long enough to read the signs knew deep down that what they were hearing was not just noise. Something was actually happening with Heartland. And it was big. Then CBC made it official. Season 20 was confirmed, and the internet did two things at exactly the same time. It celebrated and it grieved, because buried inside that announcement was the part that changed everything. Season 20 is widely expected to be the final season. The show that started in 2007 with a young girl and a broken horse on a quiet Alberta ranch is now preparing to take its final bow. And no matter how much you love this show, no matter how many times you have rewatched your favorite episodes, nothing quite prepares you for the moment when something you love tells you it is almost over. Amber Marshall, the woman who has played Amy Fleming since the very beginning, posted something on New Year's that sent the fandom into a complete spiral. She called it the year of 20 seasons. She said it with warmth and pride and that signature Amber Marshall energy that always makes fans feel like they are part of something. But between the lines of that post was something heavier. There was a finality to it, a sense that she knew what this season meant and she was choosing to celebrate it rather than mourn it. Fans read that post 100 times trying to find a reason to believe season 20 was not the end. Most of them could not find one. What makes this moment even more bittersweet is the timing. Heartland is currently more popular globally than it has ever been. Thanks to Netflix carrying the show to international audiences, people who had never heard of CBC were discovering Heartland for the first time and falling completely in love with it. New fans were coming in from the United Kingdom, from Australia, from parts of Europe and Asia where Canadian dramas rarely reach. The comment sections of fan videos were suddenly full of people saying they had just finished season 5 and could not stop watching. The show was not dying. It was growing. And yet here we are, standing at the edge of the final chapter. That contrast is what makes season 20 feel so heavy. This is not a show that ran out of steam. This is not a show that lost its audience or stopped being good. This is a show that is choosing to end on its own terms, at a moment when it still has the love and attention of millions of people worldwide. And in television, that is actually incredibly rare. Most shows either get cancelled before they are ready or they stay on so long that they overstay their welcome. Heartland is trying to do something different. It is trying to end with dignity, with intention, and with the same kind of heart that made people fall in love with it in the first place. Production is set to begin in Calgary, Alberta, between May and August of 2026. The cameras will roll one final time on those open fields. The actors who have given years of their lives to these characters will step into their roles knowing it is the last time. And somewhere in those 3 months of filming, the Heartland story will find its ending. An ending that has to carry the weight of 19 years of storytelling, 19 years of fan love, and 19 years of a show that meant something real to the people who watched it. October 2026 is when it all comes to your screen. And between now and then, every piece of news, every cast update, every behind-the-scenes moment is going to feel different because of what we now know. This is not build up to another season. This is the countdown to a goodbye. And the only question left that actually matters is whether season 20 can deliver the ending that Heartland and its fans truly deserve. Here is the thing about finales that most people do not talk about. They are not just episodes. They are promises. A finale is a show looking its audience directly in the eye and saying, everything you invested, everything you felt, everything you stayed up late watching, it was all leading here. And when a show has 19 years worth of storylines, 19 years worth of characters, and 19 years worth of fan expectations sitting on its shoulders, delivering on that promise is one of the hardest things a television production can attempt. That is exactly the mountain that the Heartland team is about to climb with season 20. So what do we actually know about what is coming? The first thing that matters is the cast. Amber Marshall is returning as Amy Fleming. That was never really in question because Heartland without Amy is not Heartland. But what fans needed to hear was that the people around her were coming back too. Sean Johnston, who has played Grandpa Jack with such quiet power for all 19 seasons, is confirmed to return. Michelle Morgan, who brought Lou Fleming to life as one of the most layered female characters in Canadian television history, is coming back. Chris Potter, who made Tim Fleming one of the most complicated and compelling fathers on any drama series, will be there for the final chapter. The core family is intact. The people who built this world are coming back to close it properly. Filming is locked in for Calgary, Alberta, running from May through August of 2026. That 3-month window is everything. Every scene shot in those months, every conversation between characters, every wide-open shot of the ranch land stretching out under that big Alberta sky is going to carry a weight that previous seasons never had. The crew knows it. The cast knows it. And when those episodes finally reach your screen in October 2026, you're going to feel it in every single frame. There is a different kind of energy that comes through the camera when people know they are doing something for the last time, and season 20 is going to be full of that energy from the very first episode to the very last. Now let us talk about what season 20 actually needs to answer, because Heartland is not walking into its finale with a clean slate. Season 19 left threads hanging that the fandom has been pulling at ever since the finale aired. The biggest one is Amy. Her relationship with Nathan Price opened a door that the show has not fully walked through yet. Fans are divided right down the middle on this storyline. Half of them want Amy to find a love that honors everything she shared with Ty while still allowing her to move forward. The other half are not ready to watch her fully open her heart to someone new. Season 20 has to navigate that divide carefully because however it handles Amy's romantic future, it is going to define how millions of people remember the show forever. Then there is Georgie and Phoenix. That storyline has always represented something specific in Heartland. It has always been about the next generation carrying forward everything that Amy and the ranch built. Georgie was essentially a mirror of young Amy, a girl shaped by horses and heartbreak who found herself through Heartland. Where her story ends in season 20 matters deeply because it is not just her ending. It is a statement about whether the legacy of the ranch survives beyond the generation we have been watching. And for a show that has always been about legacy and continuity and the land passing from one set of hands to the next, that is a genuinely important piece of the finale puzzle. Grandpa Jack is another storyline that fans are quietly anxious about. Sean Johnston has played that character with such understated brilliance that any scene involving Jack carries enormous emotional weight. He's the anchor of the entire family. He's the reason the ranch still feels like a home rather than just a location. What happens to Jack in the final season, how much the show leans into his age and his mortality and his place as the patriarch of everything, is going to determine the emotional core of season 20 in a way that nothing else can. If the writers handle Jack's final arc with the same care they have always given him, it could produce some of the most powerful television this show has ever made. And underneath all of these individual storylines is the bigger question of what the ranch itself looks like at the end. Heartland has always used the land as a metaphor for the family. When the ranch was in danger, the family was in danger. When the land was healing, the people on it were healing too. Season 20 needs to leave the ranch standing. It needs to leave it in good hands. Because for the fans who have watched that place for 19 years, the ranch is not just a setting. It is a character with its own story. And that story needs an ending just as much as Amy or Jack or Lou or Tim does. There is a specific kind of grief that only television fans understand. It is not the grief of losing something real in the physical world. It is quieter than that, and somehow harder to explain to people who have never felt it. It is the grief of knowing that a world you could always return to is about to close its doors for the last time. You could always go back to Heartland on a bad day, on a lonely night, on a Sunday afternoon when the real world felt too heavy. You could press play and be back on that ranch within seconds. That option is not disappearing entirely, but it is changing. And the moment season 20 ends, every rewatch will carry something it never carried before. The knowledge that this is all there is, that the story is complete. And that feeling is hitting the Heartland fandom in waves right now. Fan pages that have been running for years are suddenly flooded with a different kind of energy. The posts are longer. The comments are more emotional. People who have never commented on anything before are coming out of the shadows to share what this show has meant to them. A woman in Scotland wrote that Heartland got her through the hardest year of her life and she is not ready to say goodbye. A father in Australia said he started watching it with his teenage daughter and now she is in university and they still watch it together every week. A viewer in the Philippines said she discovered it on Netflix during a period of deep loneliness and it made her feel less alone in a way that nothing else did. These are not casual viewers. These are people whose lives were genuinely touched by a Canadian ranch drama that most of the mainstream entertainment world never paid much attention to. And there are millions of them. The fan theories about how season 20 will end are everywhere right now, and some of them are genuinely fascinating. The most popular theory circulating across forums and fan groups is that the finale will bring the show full circle back to its very beginning. The idea is that season 20 ends with a scene that mirrors the pilot. A young person arriving at Heartland for the first time, seeing the ranch the way Amy once saw it, full of possibility and healing, and the quiet magic that the place has always carried. It would be a way of saying that the story does not end here, that Heartland goes on even after the cameras stop rolling, that the ranch keeps doing what it has always done, healing broken things and giving lost people somewhere to belong. Fans are holding onto that theory tightly because it offers something that straight endings rarely do. It offers hope. Another theory that has gained serious traction is centered around Ty. Ty Borden, played by Graham Wardle, died in season 14 in one of the most devastating moments in the show's entire run. His death broke the fandom in a way that took seasons to recover from. The theory is that season 20 will find a way to honor Ty in the finale that goes beyond a simple flashback. Some fans believe the final episode will include a meaningful tribute scene, perhaps at his grave, perhaps through his daughter Lindy, that gives Amy the emotional closure she has been building toward ever since he died. Graham Wardle has not been part of the show since his exit, but the speculation around whether he might return for even a brief moment in the series finale is one of the most discussed topics in the entire fandom right now. Nobody knows for certain, but the hope is real and it is loud. Then there is the theory about Lou taking over the ranch completely. Over the last several seasons, Lou has evolved from the sister who wanted to escape Heartland into the person most committed to keeping it alive and growing. Her journey from a city-focused career woman into someone deeply rooted in the land and the community around it has been one of the quietest and most satisfying character arcs in the show. Fans who have followed her story closely believe season 20 will end with Lou as the undisputed heart of Heartland, the one who carries the ranch and the family forward into a future the cameras will never show us. It would be a deeply fitting ending for a character who spent years running from exactly the thing she was always meant to protect. What all of these theories have in common is something worth paying attention to. None of them want the show to end in darkness. None of them want tragedy or loss or unresolved pain as the final note. The Heartland fandom, after 19 years, knows exactly what it needs from this show. It needs warmth. It needs resolution. It needs to feel that the family it has watched through every storm and every heartbreak has finally found solid ground. Not perfect ground. Not a fairy tale. Just solid, real, earned peace. The kind that feels true to the show and true to the people who never stop watching it. And that brings us to the final thing that needs to be said about season 20 and about what Heartland has meant to the world that watches it. Television is full of shows that were popular. It is full of shows that had big ratings and award nominations and cultural moments that everyone talked about. But the shows that actually change people, the ones that find their way into the private corners of someone's life and stay there, those are rare. Those are the ones that do not just entertain but genuinely comfort, genuinely heal, genuinely make a person feel like the world is a little less sharp and a little more survivable than it seemed before they pressed play. Heartland is one of those shows. It always has been. And no finale, no matter how perfectly written or beautifully shot, can take that away from the people who found something real in it. So here is what you need to do right now. Think about the moment Heartland first got you. Think about the episode or the scene or the single line of dialogue that made you realize this show was different. Hold on to that, because season 20 is coming and it is going to ask a lot of you. emotionally. It is going to take you back to the beginning and walk you all the way to the end, and somewhere in that journey, it is going to break your heart in the most beautiful way a television show can break your heart. And when it is over, when the final credits roll on the final episode of the final season, you're going to sit with that feeling for a long time.